So I'm going to give you guys a taste of some new somatic tests. This will be helpful for many of you. If you can follow along with what I'm doing, so you want to get into a quiet place and just sit and be for a moment and watch your breath, notice your thoughts, and just feel into your inner body. So if you need to stop the recording and the video and get to that place, do that, and then turn it back on. Because, okay, where will this lead you? To a better knowing of what drives you in terms of your connection and disconnection patterns, you could say. But really what it is avoidant attachment style versus anxious attachment style, which you've heard me and Dan and others talk about on social media, and other people talk about it. We're finding an interesting slant on this real quick before you take this test. Here's what we found. People that we've worked with in the past, when we discovered their avoidant attachment style that they were using with this work, they were disconnected from people that could help them with this work. So they weren't doing the work in the way it was developed, and they were bypassing. And it was because of their avoidant attachment style. And it showed up as things like they wouldn't let us see their process, afraid to be seen, or they wouldn't do mentorship. Or, in different ways, they would go to the members area, but they didn't really connect with a mentor, somebody who could really guide them. And so it's its own sabotage, that attachment style. And it showed up as in the work as I have to do spiritual practice on my own. I have to do this work on my own. And it's like a contraction in the body that comes from trauma. It's like I don't trust other people. I'm afraid to be seen at the really core level in the body. And then that governs how that person interfaces with practice and teachers and groups and communities. Like me and Dan, we didn't really like groups. I mean, I can't speak for him because he's not as avoidant attachment as I was, but he's not keen to groups because of the trauma that we've experienced. And so we're not big on spiritual community even. But that's the avoidant attachment style. And so we've moved through that. We don't mind community now. I mean, it's a different way. We do it differently. It's not trauma the same way now as it, because it was back then. That's why we didn't like the groups. Anybody with avoidant attachment really doesn't. So that gets in the way of spiritual practice and freedom if being a part of something would help you, It's just something that you don't see if you have that necessarily with attachment style. And then there's the anxious attachment style where that shows up in our somatic test as I can't do this work on my own. And then I need somebody. And then we discovered that in our mentorship and training programs as people who were just doing sessions too much. They weren't learning the work on their own, relying on other people to do it for them and to guide them, and not really learning the skills and getting love and approval out of that and all that. So there's a sabotage either way, no matter what you find in this test I'm about to do with you, because it's showing a trauma pattern within you about how you relate to others and you stay safe with others and how you get love from others. And then therefore that infuses everything you do, really, every relationship, but also, of course, here what you do with this work. It's critically important to understand that if you're avoidant attachment, your sabotage is one way. If you're anxious attachment, you're going to sabotage another way if you don't make that conscious and what's driving all that, which we'll get to. And you don't have to think about the clinical terms. This is in your own body. You'll see it. You'll feel it here in these tests. Okay, so are you in a place that there's no distraction? Just begin to rest and stop thinking about you can't stop thinking, but just kind of watch your thoughts or breath or feel anchored to present moment awareness for a moment. So it's really simple, actually. The test, just feeling all the way into your body. See, you have to feel all the way into the body because that's where that sense of separation is. That's why this is non-dual here, is we're getting to the root of the suffering, the sense of separation. But you have to bring awareness to that, the somatic body, so to speak, just coming down and feeling and allowing what you're noticing. You can even imagine for a moment, even though it's not true, that awareness starts from behind the mind and body. And then like a fog rolling into a city, bring awareness to the sensations that are already here in the so-called body, and then just noticing any words or images appearing to awareness. That's what we call mind. Just letting things be as they are, whatever you notice. Let a sensation be as it is. Okay. So here's the thing. As you feel into your inner body, I want you to pull up doing this work, for example. Whatever, like an image or something of you doing inquiry, or you starting KI or doing KI or anything like that. Or whatever practice that you're doing. It doesn't have to be KI. It could be meditation, something else. Like you're learning in your life to do that can help you. Inquiry is good to do it on. As you pull that up and you feel into your inner body, say, as a reverse inquiry, I don't have to do that work on my own. And see if your body responds as if to say, well, yeah, I do. But it might be quiet. You might just feel it. Say it again. I don't have to do this work on my own. These inquiries, this practice on my own. A small contraction doesn't mean small repression or anything. It just means maybe unconscious, mostly. So just try it again. I don't have to do this work on my own. If you have a contraction there that's responding, just ask, is that a yes or a no? And listen to the inner body and see what comes. Is that a yes or a no? Well, what I would do, if you get a response, if it's, I don't have to do the work on my own. Yes, I do. Then write that down in what I call a utility journal. Utility journal is when you find reoccurring forms of suffering that or sabotage, but you become conscious of it, you write it down. And you get it through a reverse inquiry like that. Like, I don't have to do the work on my own, and you find that your body's saying, yes, I do. And so that's that of what they call avoidant attachment style. But it's like in relationship, it would come as like, I have to disconnect. If you look at your partner and you go into your body, you say, I don't have to disconnect. Feel. I don't have to disconnect. See that? It's similar with work, like inquiries. In other words, I have to do this on my own, this work, and then in relationship, I have to disconnect, be on my own. And there's like avoidant attachment energetically is what it is, how it shows up in the body. So I would write down in your utility journal, is what we call it, I have to do this work on my own, whatever that is. And then feel into your body and say this. What do I get out of believing that I have to do the work on my own? And listen. What do I get out of believing I have to do the work on my own? Just write it down. I mean, basically, if you kept doing that utility inquiry, you would find you stay safe for the most part. Because it's not safe to be seen, to open up. That's the avoidant. So therefore, you're forced into what you don't know is a sabotage. Because how else do you learn this inquiry that shows you how to get to repression? Unless you watch somebody do it or somebody shows you. And so we have a do-it-yourself course now for you, if you have this energy, just so you know. And I'm going to put the link to it below. But there's a caveat with that, because, see, if you have this energy and your body says, I have to do the work on my own, and you get that beginner's course, you'll learn how to do it, and it'll give you free. If you learn how to do this work, you'll see somatic freedom, like embodied freedom. If you're doing it skillfully from the beginning and seeing 2 markers, you'll see it. But you might develop, most avoidants do, some habit in KI where they just bypass because they're not letting somebody see their process. So if you do that, 3rd dimension is what it is, repression inquiry, do it yourself, so to speak, course. Then there are live support calls there too. As part of it, you should go and just listen so we can show you what the sabotage is when you have this energy in your body. But for now, there's an option for you. If you can't, connect with somebody on this work or join mentorship. It's perfectly natural. It's your trauma response to just do it on your own. But you'll see that's also a source of suffering if you don't already, and it's a sabotage. And when you're trying to learn skillful practice, when you don't open up to anyone at all, you can get into a habit of doing KI in a different way than we developed. It's that simple, and it's a bypass. Okay, but then going back into your body, same as we did in the beginning, and now pull up this, whatever represents you doing this work or whatever practice you do, and feel into the body and say, I can do the work on my own. I can do the work on my own and see what the body does. I can do this work on my own. And some people have both, by the way. You can write down both. But see if you have energy here. As if the body's saying, no, I can't. And there's what they call in the research anxious attachment. But in relationship, it would be like, I need them. There's fear under that, of course. Anxious. And then with the spiritual practice, you might be the kind of person who does a lot of sessions with people or teachers or healers, or maybe you go to get help with this and that, and you're not aware necessarily of this conditioning in your body, which is its own kind of sabotage, because with this work, you don't learn the skills necessarily on your own and learn to trust yourself. You reach out too much to a mentor for things that you could discover within your own direct experience if you picked up the work more on your own. So there's your sabotage. Well, what do we offer for you? Because that's different. See, if you feel that in your body right now, I would write down in your journal first. If I were you, I'd write down, I can't do this work on my own. And then go into utility inquiry, like we did with the other attachment style, and say, as you feel into your body and listen, what do I get out of believing I can't do this work on my own? And then just listen. What do I get out of believing I can't do this work on my own? And then write that down without interpreting. Just, what do I get emotionally, say it that way, out of believing I can't do this work on my own? And then for that, you might have a sense of like, I need somebody, see? But anyway, let's write down. It might be, well, that's how I get love. If I can't do you might not know or understand why you're writing something down, because you're asking the unconscious body. That becomes clearer and clearer as you do 3D KI. See, as to where all that's coming from. But that's your sabotage, and if you're not careful. So do we just offer, the mentorship? Well, see, the mentorship is the best thing for everybody, because we can spot these patterns and the repression, create this container, these boundaries. Here come the skills. Now you're processing. Now you've got these amazing tools in your life, and somebody's there to help you. It's amazing. I mean, seriously, mentorship is the best thing if you can afford it. But not everybody can, but really it's more about trauma. And some avoidant attachments wouldn't want to join mentorship. But anxious, if you have that anxious feeling where you need someone, you might want to. But see, that's where we draw the boundary. And that's shaken up our community, because people who had that, who kept going back to sessions, we sort of closed the gate, even though it hurt us financially. Because that charging for sessions, but you know, in order to be free, these things have to happen for people in relationship. So we can't just invite people blindly into mentorship and then just feed that anxious attachment thing. That's trauma too. And so those people are going to sabotage the work because they're not going to do it, learn it, perhaps. So there, if you have that, not you people, if you have that, now that you've written it down, of course you can join mentorship. But the mentorship would be about setting those boundaries, showing the skills to meet your unmet needs yourself. That's emotional repression on both sides of the attachment style. You can't meet your emotional needs. You can't feel and express what's true. You have buried emotions. You're trying to get your needs met outside of yourself through either staying away from people, safety, or needing people love, or both. And so you want to be aware of that because there's the source of suffering. Part of it, there's your trauma, and then there's the repression of emotion and all that. So if you don't know that, though, mentorship going into something like that blindly could just reinforce those patterns. So we would say there's options for everybody. People with anxious attachment might say, I don't want to sit with a mentor again and get their approval, but I want to go learn this work that gets to the root of that. So they go to the do-it-yourself thing, At the same time, you have to trust your experience. Maybe you want to just do mentorship because that's how you learn. Good. So there will be those boundaries in that container for you. You can't do the work on your own until you learn it, though, see? So if you're so avoidant that you don't learn it, we can't give it away for free, not everything. Because we can't grow. We can't do the work that we want to do. But you can find your way here within your cost range and what is not comfortable for you, because what's comfortable is for people who avoid just to get that do-it-yourself and then not ever get any help. Or what's comfortable for an anxious is just to sit in someone's company and not really kind of take responsibility to learn the skills. So find your place. I hope the test helped. And if you want to just say, forget it. I mean, because everybody has that right too. These tests show what they show. You can trust your body, but it doesn't mean you have to act on it and do anything. At least you know what you know. The body keeps the score. You knew that anyway. You're that much more conscious to the fact that you've got this pattern in your body. Now just watch how it plays out in relationship. And at the very least, if you just want to, here's the best thing I can say to you though, because, and I'll let you go here, is that you might not be ready to just start the work. And we totally understand that too. And there's just a way to not spend any money and learn more. Because in social media, you're only going to learn so much. Hear about our real work. Because it's deep somatic work. It's not something you can just talk about. It's a skill. We have to show it to you. Because there's so many ways to bypass with any form of inquiry. Or there are ways to do it. And without guidance, you will. That's the nervous system seeking safety. To suffer. That's our default conditioning. Suffer. If you have no skill or not good skill and good context to know where the root of suffering is, how to access it. Okay, so, but if you just want to get on the newsletter, then you can just don't have to pay any money. Just sit and listen to us. We're going to have skits coming through just like you see. Our best social media will come through the newsletter. We'll have like blogs, we do have, and different things that educate you about what we're doing. And that's good for people who do have an avoidance pattern. They just want to sit in the newsletter and not do anything. But then there's the do-it-yourself course when you're ready. See, there's just this is trauma. We understand it. So just go at your own pace. But the newsletter is a good place to sit and see all of our resources, and it's free. And to get on that, see, now once you've taken this test, if mentorship doesn't sound, I'll put the link to Mentorship Discovery Kit in the comments. And that's different. That's not a full mentorship program. That's just 7 days of mentorship. For any avoidant attachment style, that's not what you are anyway. These labels, this is just a test. You can try either one of those out in the comments. But frankly, I'm going to put a third link down for those who aren't ready for that, just to get on the newsletter. But this link is to a repression test. So if you're not on the newsletter, you want to know what your repression is too. Because you'll understand when you get on the newsletter. Take that repression test, then you're on it. And you can watch for the resources that we have. All 3 links with the description will be in the comments to this test, this video. Thank you for listening.